Welcome back to your faith-driven entrepreneur community. By now, you've likely spent 8 weeks in one of our foundation groups learning more about what exactly is a faith-driven entrepreneur. You've come to find that you're a part of a global movement made up of Christian entrepreneurs from over 88 different countries around the world. Hopefully, you've grabbed your own copy of the Faith-Driven Entrepreneur book, which reviews the marks of a faith-driven entrepreneur with lessons that God has taught me in my entrepreneurial career, along with great teaching from J.D. Greear and Chip Ingram, and a great introduction from Lecrae. Maybe you've even shared copies with your friends, colleagues, and anyone else who's on the same journey with you. If you haven't yet, I hope that you plan to join us for Faith-Driven Entrepreneur Live. Our annual conference is just another way to experience the momentum of this global movement in your own backyard. Visit faithdrivenentrepreneurlive.org for more details. This episode is the beginning of a new series. Our hope is that with this series is that as you meet with your Faith-Driven Entrepreneur group on a monthly basis, you'll watch and discuss these episodes together. We'll spend the next 12 months digging deeper into each of the marks of a faith-driven entrepreneur: the call to create, identity in Christ, stewardship versus ownership, and joyfully generous, just to name a few. We'll share a story from the movement, and then we'll provide you with practical business application to discuss in your group. And while we want you to come for the content, we really want you to stay for the community. We've intentionally designed these sessions to be shorter, giving you more time to discuss. Take turns after watching each session to share an overview of your business. Get counsel from each other on some of the opportunities and challenges ahead of you. As you meet, we hope you'll consider ways that you can invite others into the movement. You might share with them our blogs, podcasts, and videos, or maybe even join hundreds of others around the world in hosting watch parties for the Faith-Driven Entrepreneur Live Conference. All of these are great options, but the best option is always to look to lead a faith-driven entrepreneur group in your local community or church. Remember, there's no cost, no catch to these groups. This is a movement led by all of you, entrepreneurs and business owners who recognize that entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey, but it doesn't need to be. There's something beautiful when a community of entrepreneurs and business owners come together, learn from one another, process the marks together, and pray together. We hope you'll join us in expanding the movement of God throughout the marketplace, under His power and for His glory. Okay, back to our episode. This month, we're revisiting the call to create, one of 12 marks of a faith-driven entrepreneur. What does it look like to take the first step? Maybe in starting a business or in starting a new direction in the business you already have. Maybe you have a side hustle that is ready to become your full-time gig. Before we press into that, I want to introduce you to Jessica Kim, one of my co-hosts for this series. Jessica, it's awesome to have you with us.
It's so great to be here. Thanks, Henry.
Jessica Kim is the co-founder and CEO of Iona Care, which helps family caregivers as they navigate care at home. Iona Care is the third business Jessica has started. At the age of 19, she started Jessica's Wonders, a baked good company, out of her college dorm room. She raised $1 million her senior year and grew it to national distribution. In 2008, Jessica launched Babaco to invest in the future of parenting through subscription activity boxes. Babaco was acquired in 2014 by Barefoot Books. So I think it's fair to say, Jessica, that you've been motivated by your call to create for a long time now.
Thank you, Henry, for the very kind introduction. I guess from a very early age, I've always dreamed big. I remember as a kid, my dad raised me to have such a big vision, to believe in myself and how God created me, and to just go for it. The funny thing is, though, that I never intended to start businesses. I don't come from a family of business owners. My dad was a psychiatrist, my mom was super social. It was less about the business and more about the people. And my love for people really drove me to create change, to create products and lead people to flourish. So business ended up being the greatest vehicle to do that. And that's why I'm so excited to be hosting these episodes with you, Henry. It's such an honor to speak directly to other business owners and entrepreneurs who have the same drive and desire to create. Well, Henry, you also have a pretty amazing story yourself. I believe that it started in a college dorm room. I think you were selling T-shirts out of your college dorm room. Tell us more about that.
Well, a little less than $1 million of startup capital, I'll tell you. But early on in my very young career at the University of Delaware, I discovered some really, really cool math. And that was that you could make a T-shirt for $5 and you could sell it for $10. And even I could do that arithmetic. And it really started this desire that I had of getting out there and creating products and services and just seeing how they'd work in the marketplace. And then selling gave me this validation and just really this encouragement that, my goodness, there's something that I thought was worth $5, but other people might think is worth $10 if I can add some value to it. And that was super cool. And I really think I found my calling. Now, I did T-shirts in 50 schools up and down the East Coast and in California as I was going through college. But then I realized that I needed to get a different job. I had cut some corners on some trademarks that I shouldn't have, and my dad said, look, pal, at age 20, you can plead naivete, but by the time you're 21, you need to get a real job. So then I did what a lot of other people will do, is I looked at culture for what I should do next. And the movie Wall Street had come out, and I wanted to be like the Bud Fox character, the Charlie Sheen character in Wall Street, which is kind of sad. I went and had a career in Wall Street, and then found a business that I could start in the energy derivatives world. And that was just rekindled this desire that I had had and this joy I had of running my own business. And that led to a company called Bandwidth. And Bandwidth today, about 23, 24 years on, has been, through the grace of God, a successful business, and along the way has spun off Republic Wireless and Relay Go. And we've just had a lot of fun innovating and creating in the telecom space. And all of this has created in me this desire to be able to get out there, make things happen, but in the process, endeavor to know God more fully. And that's something I think is so key to our ministry in this movement, is that we as entrepreneurs and business owners can come to know more fully the God who created us, a God who works 6 out of 7 days, a God whose work continues to this day, according to the Gospel of John. And as we lean into that, we can experience this God, we can know this God. And so that's why we've gathered. And it's so awesome to have you with us.
That's such a good story, Henry. You know, for some entrepreneurs, fear holds them back. For others, it might be a misconception that there's some massive buildup and scale and 101 things that need to happen first. But eventually, there's a moment where you just go for it. Next thing you know, that side hustle, conversation, or small idea becomes the catalyst for something big and maybe totally unexpected. There's something special about where big ideas like this are born. Dorm rooms, garages. We're here in Silicon Valley, which has become the epicenter of tech startups, like Apple, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, Facebook, and so many others with humble beginnings that grew into the tech titans of our day.
Indeed. In fact, we're actually at the Office of Founders Fund, which provided some of the initial capital for Facebook, for SpaceX, for Palantir, for Stripe, for Airbnb. A lot of the great companies funded right here, right in this office. I saw an opportunity with t-shirts. Jessica sees an opening with her baked goods. And Allie Davidson experienced this divine moment herself. Allie is the co-founder of Camp Gladiator, a fitness boot camp taking place at over 7,500 locations each week with 2,500 different classes online. Her call to create all started with a moment, an opportunity that she knew had to be seized upon. Let's watch her story.
The day of my wedding, I decided to sneak out of the house that morning and go with my bridesmaids to go try out for the TV show American Gladiators.
I didn't find out about any of this until we were getting announced to go into our reception, and she said, "You're not gonna believe what I did this morning." I said, "What did you do?" She goes, "I tried out for American Gladiators."
But who knew that we would actually get picked from that show?
And Allie pretty much dominated, was the grand champion on the show, did an amazing job, won the money in the car. We knew that after her finale aired that we'd have just a few minutes of free promotion.
This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and that the Lord had really blessed us. We just felt like it was for a bigger purpose and a bigger cause.
Collectively decided we were going to start a fitness camp for adults, and it would be for all fitness levels. It would be motivational, fun, uplifting.
Well, the mission of Camp Gladiator is that we want to positively impact as many lives as possible through physical fitness. You know, when you're going through a tough workout, it really does break you down, and you kind of have to stick together as a group. Through that, there's some great friendships that you know, makes people more open to talking to each other and building relationships, and I think that's where we're really able to come in and impact people for the better. Well, Camp Gladiator is not necessarily a Christian company. It's run by Christian owners and Christian leadership. So some pretty cool ways that we have been able to partner up and be able to present more opportunities for our campers or our trainers to hear the word or to attend church with us or to share the gospel with them is through a couple of different things. We've started a Camp Gladiator Bible study group, and that's completely voluntary. We actually had a group of campers that came up to us. So we've done that. We've also started a CG Serve team, which is basically just anyone in our entire program can sign up and volunteer to do different charity events with us throughout the year, whether that be, you know, serving the homeless or picking up trash in the park, we're able to form those relationships in that community even more so that we can continue to invite them to church or talk with them about Christ. One thing that we were really blessed with was as we were opening up our new indoor facility, CG Arena, the budget was very, very tight, and we didn't know if we were going to financially be able to open our indoor facility. So we were praying about it a lot, and a church actually approached us through a connection that we had through our boot camp and said, hey, we're looking for a space to rent out Sunday mornings from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. We had already planned that we weren't going to be open Sundays until about 1 o'clock. And so they came in and said, we'll help provide about 20% of the rent. And so that's what really pushed us over the edge to say, wow, this was a God thing. This was meant to be.
Looking back over the last 4 years as we've grown Camp Gladiator, it's really exceeded all of our expectations on the scale of being able to impact more people than we ever thought possible. We've been able to grow. Right now we're in 18 different cities, 6 states. We have close to 10,000 adult campers.
The verbal feedback that we've heard from our boot campers or our members is that we are making a difference. We are able to impact them for the better. When you hear those things, it makes all the hard work all worth it.
Entrepreneurs are natural problem solvers. They see a gap in the market that needs to be filled and believe that they're the ones uniquely equipped to make it happen. It's been a great blessing to get to know Allie and Jeff and their story more fully over the past several years since we first had them on the podcast. Theirs is a great example of a couple who saw an opportunity and seized it with vigor and at scale. They understand intuitively that we as entrepreneurs are called to create. We are invited to co-create with the author of the universe, a working God who works 6 out of 7 days and who, according to the Gospel of John, continues to work to this day. We are presented with an incredible opportunity to be fruitful and multiply and take dominion over all things. Ultimately, it's an invitation to participate in the work that God is doing in the world under His power and for His glory. There is no greater calling. This is what we were created for.
You're so right, Henry. What an awesome calling that you and I are uniquely created for by God Himself. But for many of us, we wonder, what does it look like to start? That's a big question for any entrepreneur. For some, perceived risk is a big deterrent. The unknown is a scary proposition. What if my business fails? What if I fail? Of course, research and knowledge are important for anyone who is looking to launch a venture or create a business. Business plans are important, a clear vision is important, but no matter how much we try to close that gap between the known and the unknown, eventually we will need to take that leap. It'll require faith every single time. We come to realize that we'll eventually run out of answers and only be left with questions. It requires faith in God, and only He can give us the strength to make the jump. The joy is knowing that God is right there, waiting to catch us when we partner with God as a faith-driven entrepreneur. And this isn't limited to just taking the first step of a venture. Maybe you've had a company for years or are considering a new initiative. No matter where you are, what is your next faithful step? Spend some time in your group talking about this session and how it relates to the journey you're on. Open yourselves up to learning from one another, and I encourage you to be vulnerable and honest with each other. Make this time together worthwhile by bringing your cares and concerns to this new community of yours. We'll see you next time.